Harry, come on. It's time to record. Let's go.
Okay, Harry, how are you feeling?
Quite well rested, actually. Yeah, it turns out that a power nap will actually do you a lot better than a coffee in the afternoon.
So you've been taking the method approach to writing an article then?
Well, yeah, like most people, I take my health tips from Winston Churchill. So it's said that, after a good boozy lunch, a couple of glasses of bubbly and a measure of brandy, the former British Prime Minister would nip upstairs for an afternoon nap, and then he'd be able to work right through to the early hours of the morning. So I try and take that approach as well as I can.
You haven't just been emulating Winston Churchill, you've been looking at the science of all of this. What are the benefits of a nap?
Well, absolutely. The science suggests that Winston was onto something. We have this kind of natural dip in the circadian rhythm just after kind of lunchtime. And modern working life tells you to just plough on through. But really, you should be listening to that feeling. And there's a neuroscientist called Matthew Walker who wrote a book called Why We Sleep a little while back. And he said that, just to quote him, he said, humans are not sleeping the way nature intended. And the number of sleep bouts, he says, the duration of sleep and when sleep occurs have all been comprehensively distorted by modernity. There was a landmark study back in 2007 of 23,000 Greek adults who, and they tracked them over about 6 years and found that those who gave up their afternoon siesta, they had a 37% increased risk of heart disease. So it just goes to show that we're actually meant to have a nap in the afternoon to kind of get us through to that sleeping pattern. Kind of what's called biphasic sleep patterns, something where you split your slumber into two sections rather than the traditional way that we all do, where we head on home and we have that 7-hour sleep at night.
So I'm a devotee of coffee. What does a nap do that coffee doesn't?
Well, there was a study that found that power naps are actually more effective than caffeine at improving alertness and memory in the afternoon. And research published last year suggested that a midday dose could even reverse the effects of a bad night's sleep. But that's not to say that you can just power nap your way through the afternoon. Like, you actually need to have that full 7 hours sleep, because there are so many more restorative benefits to getting those 6 sleep cycles rather than just the one power nap. It's a bit like having a healthy snack versus having a full square meal. You need the both.
So unfortunately at The Economist, we don't have sleeping pods ready for us. But you're saying it really would be an investment in our physical health and our mental agility if we did?
Absolutely. Well, there are some offices, especially in Japan, where they will have a sleep pod ready and raring for the office workers, because they recognise that sleeping on the job is not something to be frowned upon, but something that actually will give you more energy to get through your work in the afternoon. There have been studies that have shown that if you take somewhere between a 10 to 30 minute nap in the afternoon, it really improves alertness and mood. And that's kind of the window that you're looking at, somewhere between 10 and 30 minutes. So a sleep cycle is normally about 90 minutes long. And at night we'll go through about 6 of these. The thing with a power nap is that you stick to 10 to 30 minutes because within that 90-minute sleep cycle, it's divided up into light sleep and deep sleep. So the idea with a power nap is that you stay asleep long enough to benefit from that light sleep without going into the deep sleep and waking up feeling worse than when you got to sleep.
So the definition of a power nap then is that it's short and sweet, but you do get some sleep.
And in 1994, NASA came up with this study and they found that a 26-minute power nap improved pilots' physiological awareness and performance.
Okay, so we've got 26 minutes, the magic number. When should we sleep?
They say is between kind of 1 and 3 p.m. So your circadian rhythm has this natural kind of dip just after lunch, where production of cortisol might be slightly down, that hormone that produces that alert feeling, and the core body temperature might be a little bit lower. And also when your body's digesting food, it's taking a little bit more energy to do that. So you'll feel a little bit more inclined to sleep anyway. So it's worth listening to that feeling between about 1 and 3 p.m. If you're starting to nap later than that, towards kind of 5, 6, that's when it's going to start disrupting your late night sleep. So it's worth, if you're going to do it earlier rather than later.
And how do you just fall asleep? I mean, surely you've got to build in some time to get to sleep.
Well, some people might find it harder than others just to get straight off to sleep. But there are some benefits to just resting your eyes for 15 minutes. You know that you might not get the full whack, but at least you'll be kind of giving your brain a chance to recharge for those 15 minutes. If you can nod off, and I think it does take practice just to be able to fall asleep, then you'll feel a little better. But just resting your eyes for 15 minutes will still do you some good.
And is there a benefit to napping every day, or is it something you can do kind of once or twice a week?
So the idea that you can just kind of have one power nap and you're done, that's not really going to have the same kind of cumulative effect of doing it over time. It's a bit like, working out. You have to do it over time in order to build that muscle. So there was a study back in 2007 that found that regular napping, they did a study of healthy American adults, and they found that these power naps over time gave them a 37% lower risk of heart disease. But if you're sleeping for too long, if you start having regular naps over the kind of 60-minute mark, it can actually have some damaging effects on your health. So there's been a study that found that the risk of diabetes and associated cardiovascular trouble went up when if you're napping for too long on a regular basis.
Harry, thank you so much.
Thank you, Rosie.